Oh, hello. Today is Saturday, February 9th, 2019, and this is A Sister Be Going Places, the travel podcast to make your travel experience awesome. I'm Tyrone Griffin with my friend, the global butterfly, Vicky Young. How you doing, Vicky?
I'm doing well.
Good, and we'll try to answer your travel-related questions and give you tips on how to make your vacations easier, more enjoyable, and more budget-friendly. If you're watching live and have a travel-related question, enter it here on Facebook, or you can call 845-277-9417, and we'll answer it for you online. You can find past shows on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and Blog Talk Radio. And if you like the show, please leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are a sister that be going places, stop by our Cafe Press store and get some swag. Hats and tote bags for your next excursion. Fellas, this is a great Valentine's gift for that sister, non-sister, aunt, mother, or special person in your life. Our Cafe Press store is at cafepress.com/a-sister-be-going-places. I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, I've been working on it. It's gotten long, but I've been working
I
on it.
tell you that it's
Oh,
funny.
how are you doing, Vicky?
I am doing well. I am still trying to get over this bug that hit me, but I'm much better.
Okay, good. Well, let's go ahead and get it started. We're going to start, before we get into this week's topic, we have a question that somebody sent us. So, if you have questions, I didn't say it, but if you do have questions, aside from hitting us on Facebook right here, you can send an email to assisterbegoingplaces@gmail.com, and we'll answer your question on the next show. So, a friend of mine asked me this question about excursions when you go to hotels and resorts. Oh, one other thing. I was doing Facebook Live earlier today, and it quit on me like after 10 minutes. I rebooted. It was fine. But in case it does, just stay there, and I'm just prepared for a case. Don't freak out. So, all right. So anyway, the question was, for excursions, when you go into a resort or a hotel and they have some excursions, or even I guess a cruise where you can take excursions, is it better to book the excursion through the hotel or ship or resort, or is it better to book it on your own?
Well, me personally, it all depends. It all depends on where you are, what country you're in. I usually try to do them myself because I
Hmm.
find that they're a little bit less expensive when you do them yourselves. And then a lot of times you'll find a lot of the excursion stuff are scams. So you end up having to think you're purchasing something and you're really not. Now there are some sites out there like Viator who offers like different excursions, but you will find that a lot of those excursions they add an upcharge because you have to pay for that service. But if you go to like if you're in a particular country and you want to know about an excursion, if you go to that actual excursion own website, you may find that you can purchase the tickets and stuff really inexpensive, less than what you would pay at the hotel, because the hotel is going to add in their up cost. However, I think if you need like an escort, or if you need someone to help you and then you're in a place that's not really safe, or you're on an island that you're not really sure of, it's good to go through the hotel. Sometimes it's good to pay that extra money so you know you're going to be safe going where you're going, and they can offer assistance as far as an escort, or if you need somebody to, with you, you can hire a guide that can be able to speak the native language of that place that you are. So it just really depends on you and where you are, and if you have the time to do all the research yourself.
So now, when you do an excursion, say you book it through the hotel,
Hmm.
is there a better or different security as far as um, if something happens and you can't go? If you have to get a refund, are you in a better position if you booked it through the hotel versus just went directly?
You should be, but a lot of times the companies within those hotels are independent companies,
Uh,
and they're just on location at that particular hotel selling their service. So it just really depends. And those are things that you have to ask in the very beginning. What is your refund process? If something happens and I have to cancel, can I get my money back? And if it's something out of my control and I have to cancel, can I get my money back? So it really just all depends.
It's interesting. I had a friend last year went to a Super Bowl party and had their car valet parked, and somebody broke into the car and stole a weapon there. They had a license and everything, but somebody stole their weapon out of their car, and it was a mess because then the restaurant blamed the valet company who they had just hired for the event, and the
It
valet
happens.
company was like kind of fly by night. It was a mess.
Yeah, and it's the same way with these, companies that you're purchasing because they're just independent contractors on location at a hotel. The hotel may get a fee for them being there, but a lot of times you're actually working directly with that particular company.
Okay. Okay. All right. And the follow up question to that was, sh- how do you feel about going on excursions alone? And I think you kind of answered that, but you got to check. It sounds like you got to check out the company.
You need to check out the company, and you need to if you're questioning the safety of it, a lot of times it's best that you probably don't go.
Yeah, even if it's through the hotel or not.
Even if it's through the hotel. Now, I would check with the concierge at the hotel versus checking with the actual company that's working at the hotel to sell their business, because you check with the concierge, and the concierge could probably tell you yay or nay, you shouldn't go. Because I was in Cancun, and I wanted to go into the city. I wanted to go into the city to go to the mall. And I asked the concierge how much it would cost to have a cab. And he said, well, to get a cab, it's going to cost you about $15. However, a bus comes right out front. It's only $1. And I was like, but I'm scared. And he was like, don't be afraid. He was like, it's safe here. You'll be okay. And my friend over here, like, let's just take the bus. I was like, I don't know where I am. Let's go, And so we ended up taking the bus, and it was actually fun. I mean, the bus picked us up right outside and they dropped us off right back at that location.
Wow.
And it wasn't, and we saved. So it's like have those conversations with the concierge or the front desk, and they will probably steer you in the right direction as far as safety. Because I did tell them, I was like, I'm scared.
No, you said I'm scared.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That was just too much to pass up. All right. Well, thank you. That was good. So hey, everybody, if you want your question answered live, type it in here on Facebook Live or send it to us at assistedbegoingplaces@gmail.com or call us in at 845-277-9417. So got the question, the online questions out the way. Let's talk about this week's topic, which is traveling with friends. Now, real quick story. I had a friend who went to Disney World, my favorite place, a couple, maybe 15, 20 years ago, and their family went with their neighbors, their next door neighbors, because we get along so well. Because the neighbors. Well, they went to Disney World, flew down there from Connecticut, rented one vehicle for everybody, one big SUV where everybody could fit in. And it was a disaster because on day 2, the neighbor's kid started acting up. So the wife was like, oh, we're going back to the room. Well, if you go back to the room, we all
Then everybody got to go back to the room because we got one car.
Yeah, and they all went back, and the next day the family went and rented their own car, and they, basically the rest of the week they went like this. So that's my whole story about traveling with friends. But let's talk about traveling with friends. What are the things that what are the first things you need to consider when you're traveling with friends?
You need to consider that. I would say traveling with friends, everybody wants to take trips and share those memories and, have good times with your childhood friends or your college friends or whatever. And we just automatically assume that because we've been friends forever, that we can get along when we travel. And that is a huge assumption that we should probably think about when we start to plan trips, because you will find out, and I'm sure most people that are listening will probably say you cannot travel with everybody, and you really can't. And you can't assume because we've been friends forever that we can travel. Yeah, we could probably go away for the weekend. We could do a long weekend trip. We go to the Essence Festival, or we go to Miami. But when you start to consider 2 and 3 weeks vacation, where you're traveling totally out of the country, because most of the time when people go to Asia, they're going for up to a month.
Hmm.
And so when you're considering that, you have to just keep in the front of your head that, okay, think about your friends. Think about the fact that, okay, the people that I want to travel with, I know one of them would jump off at the drop of a dime. She'll set it off and just go off on everybody. The other one is selfish. She don't like to share. The other one don't like to compromise. And then we have one that really just can't afford to go, but she's just getting enough. So you have to take into consideration all those things, and just look at the fact that if you got friends with those issues, if you're on vacation with them for a long extended period of time, those things are going to heighten. They don't change just because you're on vacation with
Hmm.
someone. So just keep in mind that you have to really consider who you travel with. And a lot of times it's trial and error. You just got to go on a trip with somebody
Hmm.
and figure it out whether or not you can travel with that person. And if you've never traveled with your friends before, I would say start small. Start with just a weekend trip someplace. See how that goes. A lot of times that's really not good, because by the time you start getting on each other's nerve, it's time to go home.
Uh-huh.
So you have to consider that. But I think with the ones that we've gone on short trips with our friends before, you have to consider your friends. And you have to consider the fact that you're going to be in close, intimate space with this person for 2 or 3 weeks. And you don't, this is your friend, but you don't live with them. So it's different when you got to live with somebody for a long extended period of time. So you have to just consider all those things up front. It's great. I'm not saying don't go with your friends or don't travel with your friends, because it's a good thing to travel with friends. You just have to just really think about and plan it out prior to just taking a long trip.
Hmm. Okay, well, I know the first thing that comes up is money, and it comes up, and I know you've told me some horror stories, but the first thing is when you're planning the trip. Because I know the way you plan is, you plan 10 months, 8 months in advance, and you start buying. No, hey, big
Yeah.
ups. But you start planning your trips a long time in advance.
Yes.
And tell me, there was one horror story you told me about buying tickets. And
Yeah. Well, I would say this. If you're planning, I always plan my trip. I'm usually the planner because I always plan my vacation, and my friends like to just join, come aboard. It's like, this is where I'm going, this is my itinerary, that's it. And so they always like to join in. Oh, okay, I want to go, or I want to go here. So I always say, I've booked my trip. And if you go outside of the US and domestically in the Caribbean, if you book, if you book your hotel stay, they charge you for double occupancy. When you go out of the country, like to Europe and all those other places, it's actually cheaper if you're a solo traveler. They don't charge you according to whether or not you have 2 or 3 people. So if you're just one person traveling solo, they charge you for your one person traveling solo. And so when I book my trips, I book my trip for my one person traveling solo. And if my friends want to join in, I always tell them, I was like, it's going to cost more for me to include you in the trip. So it's going to cost more. I've already got my stuff planned. So
hmm
if I change my hotel to accommodate you, you're going to have to pay up front. So if you change your mind later and decide, my battery is going low, sorry. If you decide later that you don't want to go, then I'm not stuck paying for 2 people when initially I wanted to just pay for myself. So if you don't go, you lose your money. And I'm sorry, but I had to change my plans to accommodate you. And I don't
yeah.
think it's fair that I have to be stuck with an extra bill because you decided not to go. So
Mhm.
having the financial conversations with your friends is very important in the planning process, because most of the time we'll get to our destination and then we'll start figuring out, oh, I ain't got enough money. Oh, I had to spend an extra $100 because of this. Oh, my friend don't have enough money to eat for the 2 weeks we're here. So you start realizing we should have talked about this before we even left, started buying tickets and booking hotels. You got to have those hard conversations in order to properly plan your trip,
Now
even about money.
you told me a story about that where you sent the itinerary to somebody
Yep.
and they didn't open it.
Yep. It wasn't my story. It was a story that I'd read on a
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
travel blog that I'm on. And these two friends went to Europe, and one of them booked the trip, and she sent the itinerary to her friend 3 months ahead of time. Her friend never read the itinerary. They get to their destination, and the friend is like, "What do you mean this is not all inclusive? I thought this was all inclusive." And she was like, "I never said it was all inclusive. I sent you the itinerary. Well, I never read it." Oh, I didn't bring enough money for excursions and food because I thought all the food was included. So now her friend is like, "So what am I going to do? I got to I either not going to be able to do the things that I plan to do because my friend won't do it, or I got to do it by myself, or I got to pay for my friend." And then the friend is like, "Well, I'm not going to do anything extra, so I'm just going to go out and buy a bunch of tuna packets. And that's what I'll have for my meals." And the friend is like, "Oh my God." So that stuff is real. People actually have issues when they're traveling with their friends because they don't plan ahead before they get to their destination.
That's a crazy story. Hey, on this same topic, what about when people plan a trip and they use a travel agent? Now, I'm not trying to open up to we can bash travel agents or anything, but what's your take? What's your opinion? Should people use a travel agent if they're planning? I mean, and let me say up front, I recognize that the travel agent is usually doing things that you could probably do yourself.
Yes, but most people use travel agencies because they don't have the time to put the research time in. They don't have time for that. A lot of people use travel agencies because they just don't know how to plan. It's like, I want to go to Asia, but I don't know where to go. I don't know where to stay. I just need somebody to do all that for me. That's when they pick the agencies to do the work for them. Me, personally, I like to do all my own work because that way when I do all my own research, I have a better understanding of where I'm going. I know where the cost is. I know how much I'm going to be paying to stay in this area versus this area. I know where the safest areas are. My voice is going, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
So
fine.
most people don't really want to put the time and effort. They rather pay the extra money to have someone else do it. Whereas I'd rather do it myself.
Well, what's interesting about that, because we have a real life example, we won't get into the details of it, but we had somebody who was taking a trip with some friends, and they asked, "Could you see what you could do, what you could find?" Let me say this: you're not a travel agent; you're just a sister that be going places, and you were able to find the same trip, same flights, same resort, same day, same everything, and it was 33% cheaper.
Yes.
It was a third cheaper. So that was, in this case, it's about $400 or $500 that they were paying, and they had a double occupancy versus you found them a single occupancy, which meant they could keep that room credit to all themselves. It was like you found a
Yep.
better. And again, I remember you said I spent 15 minutes on this one or something crazy. It's like
Yeah.
that.
But people, again, with travel agencies, you can make installment payments. And
Yeah.
unless you're ready to just pull your credit card out and pay for
Right.
it right then and there, then the agencies give you a better option.
Yeah.
You may not be able to do that. And paying over time is a better option for you and your family. So you have to take those things into consideration as well.
And that brings up, we won't get into it now, but that topic of being able to pull out your credit card, of having good credit, of
Yeah.
being able to do something. In the future, we are going to do probably several shows on credit cards, on just how to use them in this case, and how to have your strategy. So,
Yep.
but getting back to traveling with friends, because you pointed out, a lot of things will come out. How much money you got.
And you have to talk about that. And it's like people would think you're trying to get in their business, and you're not. It's like we're planning to go a trip to Europe for 7 days, but you really can't afford to do 7 days. If I know that up front, we could cut it down to 5 days or 4 days.
Right.
Now you got the money to cover you. But if you don't talk about it, I don't know that there's an issue. So
Right.
you have to have those conversations prior to going, so you can fix any issues that could possibly come up when you get there.
And to that point too, you've said you're absolutely right. You got to have conversation. You got to communicate, particularly if you're about to go anywhere with somebody.
Yes.
You got to
And
talk.
that's where the issues come in. That's where the problems and the breakdown and the friendship and the arguments come in, because stuff happens on the trip that you didn't talk about prior to getting there. So now you're embarrassed, you're shocked, you're mad, and you end your friendship.
I remember you told me that story about when you were out with friends and y'all went to get the rental car. And
Rental car.
instead of like $50 down to
Yes.
hold it, it was what, $1,500, something crazy.
Yes, it was $2,000.
$2,000, yeah.
They put a hold on your credit card for that.
For $2,000 for a rental car.
Yes.
What country was that?
That was in Curacao.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but luckily you had friends that somebody was able to do it. But
Yes, because and that was my fault, because I didn't read the fine print.
right,
I just assumed that it's a credit card. I could just give you my credit card and you hold it. And when we got to the front desk, they was like, "Can I have your credit card?" And I said, "Here you go." And it was like, it was denied. No, it's not denied. What do you mean it's denied? I know there's money. And they was like, "It's denied." And I said, "Run it again." It's denied. So my friend ran hers. It was denied. I said, "What the heck?" And she said, "Let me see if my husband's card would go through." She used his debit card and it went through. And as soon as we got to the hotel, he was calling like, "What the heck did you just holding $2,000 on my credit card for?" And we were like, "Oh my God, that's why." So you gotta do your research and read the fine print, because you will be totally shocked.
It's funny, as you were talking, I had a question. You have a question and you already know the answer. If somebody wants to travel with you and they say, "Hey, can you buy my ticket and I'll pay you before we go?" Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's not
Nope.
what happened.
I won't do it, because what happens if that person can't pay you? I won't do it. I won't, because for one, it's like if you can't afford to do it now, then you probably don't need to go.
Right. Very
And
very true.
then you're gonna come up with however much the airfare is. What if you can't come up with it? Then what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So no,
Right.
no, I'm sorry, I won't do it. Be like, well, maybe next trip.
Well, did you mentioned one time that you were going someplace with friends and you had bought your ticket. You were about to buy your ticket and they were like, "Hold up," and you waited to buy the ticket until they were ready or something, and it cost you more?
Yes, that has happened. And that's why I usually just book my own stuff. I go on and book my itinerary. And if you want to go, you got to get in where you fit in. And if it's going to cost me to change something within my itinerary to accommodate you, you're going to have to pay for it up front. And I know it sounds kind of cutthroat, but you could get stuck carrying the bag for somebody else if you don't.
Right. Yeah, and unfortunately, the reality is, if you go overseas somewhere, and I had years ago went to Jamaica, and the person didn't bring their passport, and there was a group of us, and one of the people didn't bring their passport, and so they couldn't get home. But luckily, that they had somebody in the States was able to FedEx their passport down so they could get out of the country. My feeling on it is, if we out, we go on as friends and we go somewhere and we get to where we are and it's like, oh, I left my passport home. I don't know how you're getting back, but I ain't staying.
But you will be surprised that people will expect you to just hang around. And I always tell my friends, I have 3 friends that I could travel with. 3 of them, not necessarily all together, but I have 3 friends that I can travel with. And I always tell them, don't rely on me to know everything. Do your own research. Because if we get split up, you screwed.
Yeah.
And I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And I don't like being with 2 or 3 other people and I got to be responsible for everything. I don't like that feeling. So it's like, you better know for yourself, because if we get split up, you're on your own. And it has happened. It actually happened. And I'm sorry, I'm way over here. You got to figure it out now. I can't help you.
So hey, time flies. We got about 3 minutes left, and we talked about deal of the week or deal of the day. Is anything you've seen in some of your travels that right now is like, oh, this is a great deal?
I think that if you guys get a chance, sign up for Thrifty Traveler. Thrifty is thriftytraveler.com. And they send out tons of, they have where you can get Thrifty Traveler Premium. You pay $35 a year, and you get all of these really good discounted rates. Today, I got a notification from them that you could go to Croatia for $600. That's unheard of. Or you could go to Portugal for $400. So that's a huge deal to me. And you come across some really good. You have to be flexible with the dates. You have to be flexible because you have to travel within a certain period of time. But you're getting discounted airfare to go to all of these countries where you would normally have to pay $1,500, $2,000 or more for a ticket.
Oh, okay. I'll check that
Thrifty
out.
Traveler.
Thrifty Traveler. they haven't paid us anything, so stop saying it.
I love them. I love them. Because I look at my email all the time, and I'm always getting airfare. And I'll be like, have you seen this? Oh, my God.
I think I get that news. I don't get the premium one, but I think I might upgrade. I was getting the free one.
It's worth it. It is so worth it.
Yeah, you've said that several times in different conversations, so I take your word for it.
Yes, it's worth it.
Because
if you don't mind going to Paris in February or March, you could go to Paris for like $300.
Wow.
So you just have to be flexible with the dates and time.
That's good. That's good. Well, we're coming up on about a minute and a half to go. Any closing thoughts? Anything popped in your head that you're like, I meant to say this. This is off the topic.
I would say travel with your friends. It will be good memories and experiences for you guys. Just do your research up front. Have those difficult conversations.